We had our second inspection yesterday. The inspection for the footings, the rebar, the forms, the insulation, everything before the pour. Inspector came by, looked at it all, signed off on it, said it all looks great, with the exception of a couple things he wants me to do. He wants me to add a piece of rebar right on top, 3 inches from the insulation. He says it's supposed to be 2 foot on center all the way to the insulation. So I need to add another piece right on top here. And the longer bolts, the 24-inch bolts that go where the shear walls go, the reinforced walls, because all the big windows that I mentioned, those big long bolts, he wants to see them tie wired in place, because we're going to pour the footings first and then we're going to bring trucks in to pour the top. That concrete in the bottom is going to start to harden up before we pour the top. So you can't just take it, being as this 24-inch bolt, you can't take it and stuff it down into that bottom part. It's already going to be getting hard. It's not going to end well for me if I don't tie wire them into place. So I'm going to get this extra piece of rebar in. We've got plenty of rebar left over. I think we have 10 pieces left over. Got a little bit too much, but that's kind of the way I planned it when I bought this stuff. I gotta have too much insulation, I have too much rebar. It's beautiful. That means I don't have to take another hour-long trip into town to get more supplies. The other thing I want to do is reinforce this back form wall. It's dropped about a 1/4 inch in the past, how long has it been since I put it up? Week and a half, 2 weeks. It doesn't seem to want to stop raining. And I have been bumping into it here and there, stepped on it a few times. I want to put more stakes in that back form right there to make sure it's really solid. All the rest of the forms seem to be really good. Up in the rocked area, that form's not going anywhere. It's actually sitting on the rocks where the way it's put up right there. Looks like a piece of the foam's kind of popped loose. I might need to put some more tape on that to hold it in place. But we'll get this rebar done. We'll get these big long bolts tie wired into place. More good news, I got a hold of my concrete contractor. He's been super busy, but he calls me back. He says, all right, let me come out and look at the place. He comes out, looks at it, takes measurements, says we need about 30 yards of concrete. We're gonna split it up into 4 different trucks, pour the footings first. We're gonna tint the last 2 trucks, which is gonna be the top 5 inches. I bought enough tint to tint all 4 trucks just to make sure I had enough. I can return the tint if I want to. The guy that I bought the tint from, he sells it all the time. He says, you want to return it? No big deal. Return what you don't use. I'm not thinking I'm going to return it though, because I'm going to pour some patios out here, and it would be kind of nice to have them match the stuff that's in the house. Just so it all matches up when you open the door. I think it'll look a lot nicer. But the rebar is really solid. The forms are really solid. He's scheduled to come out and pour, what's today? 4 days from now. He's scheduled to come out and pour. We've got the concrete on order. His crew's gonna be out here 6 o'clock in the morning pouring this. I have a pump truck right here so the concrete trucks don't have to get too close to the forms. Concrete trucks weigh a lot. This dirt, it keeps raining, guys. I don't know when it's going to stop. I'm hoping it stops 4 days from now when we go to pour this thing, because we want it jet smooth. We want it smooth and glossy, finished off really nice, no marks in it. If it starts raining before that top layer gets nice and solid, it's going to leave little marks in it. Not the worst thing that could happen. I mean, I can live with it, but it would be nice to have a nice smooth floor without any rain marks in it. So I'm hoping that Mother Nature works with us, and 4 days from now, it doesn't rain for at least a day and a half to 2 days. That would be optimum. Get some rebar in here, get these stakes, or these bolts tie wired into place. I've got markings on the forms. What I've done is I've put marks where I need bolts, and I put marks where the bottom plates for the walls are gonna land. This is 16 foot, because I can get 16 foot pressure treated 2x6. I put a green mark every 16 feet. On the side, the end walls, I'm gonna get 12 foot pressure treated 2x6, so I put a mark right in the middle, because those are 20 foot long walls. I've got these orange marks. These are the shorter stakes. I don't have to tie wire those in. Where I've got an orange mark with the black, That's where one of those longer bolts has to go. I went around and did all these measurements while I was waiting for the inspector to come out and waiting to get a hold of my concrete contractor. That way I know where all these bolts are going. And when we do the pour, I can go around with the shorter bolts and stick them in the concrete and finish off around them, make sure they're nice and solid. The longer bolts I'm going to have to go around right now and put them all in, tie wire them up with that extra piece of rebar that I put in around the top. So let me get this stuff done, get this all ready to go. I got the rebar put in that the inspector wanted to see around that perimeter, right next to the, well, 3 inches away from the insulation. And then I've got these bolts, these big long bolts tie wired up. Now some of them, most of them, aren't very close to that rebar because the 2x6 is only that wide and that bolt's got to go right in the middle, which is about 2 inches from the foam. So what I did for some of them is take a piece of rebar and drive it into the ground and then tie wire the bolt to it. It's not going to hurt anything because the bolt's also tie wired to the rest of the rebar in here. It's going to be more of a ground for my electrical system. That's all done, and I was going to drive some stakes in over here to help support this end wall a little bit more, but I'm going to run down to the hardware store and return some of that insulation, some of that slab insulation that's left over that I didn't use, I didn't need. I don't want it to get rained on anymore. Got clouds, it was just sprinkling a second ago. Got more dark clouds coming in. I'm really hoping that Mother Nature cuts me a break, gives me a couple days off to get this pour done nice and smooth. But we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. Till next time, guys, go make something. Well, that makes 30 stakes and 24 feet. I do have a couple more stakes I could put in if I wanted, but I think we'll be all right. We'll get this all put up to grade, screw them all in, and cut off the top of those stakes so they're not in the way. I think we'll be good to go.